Hello, everyone. Today we're going to learn another 10 common idioms, phrases, and sentences that native English speakers use every single day. These expressions are super useful, and I promise by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what these expressions mean and how to use them naturally in your own conversations. Here's how you can get the most out of this video. First, listen while reading the subtitles. This will help you catch every word and follow along more easily. Then, play the video again and try to repeat the sentences out loud, but this time without reading the subtitles. This will really help you improve your pronunciation, listening, and speaking skills. Don't forget to pause and write down any new idioms or phrases you like. That way, you can remember and review them later. This is a great way to boost your listening, reading, and speaking, all at the same time. This lesson is a fun and simple way to improve your English step by step. Before we dive in, if you're finding this helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps a ton, and I really appreciate your support. All right, let's get started with our first expression. Number 1, I stand corrected. This phrase is so polite and useful. When someone says, I stand corrected, it means they're admitting they were wrong about something. It's like saying, you're right, I was wrong, but in a more formal, respectful way. Native speakers use this when they want to admit their mistake gracefully. This expression comes from the idea of standing for something, like supporting an idea. When you stand corrected, you're changing your position because someone showed you the correct information. It's actually a really nice way to accept that you made a mistake. Let me tell you a story about this one. Last week, I was talking to my friend about a movie. I said it came out in 2019, but she told me it actually came out in 2020. Instead of getting embarrassed or defensive, I simply said, "Oh, I stand corrected. Thanks for letting me know." It made the conversation stay friendly and positive. For example, if your coworker tells you a meeting is at 3 p.m., but then your boss says it's actually at 2 p.m., you could say, I stand corrected. The meeting is at 2 p.m. Here's another one. Imagine you're discussing a recipe with someone and you say tomatoes are vegetables, but they explain that tomatoes are actually fruits. You might respond, well, I stand corrected. I always thought they were vegetables. People often say this in professional settings too. Like if you're giving a presentation and someone points out an error in your data, you could say, I stand corrected. Thank you for catching that mistake. Have you ever had to admit you were wrong about something? This phrase makes it so much easier and more polite. Let me know in the comments if you think you could use this expression in your daily life. Number 2, fair enough. Oh, this one is everywhere. Fair enough is such a common expression that means that's reasonable, or I accept your point. It's like saying, okay, I understand, or that makes sense. Native speakers use this all the time when they agree with someone's reasoning, even if they might not completely agree with the conclusion. This phrase is perfect for everyday conversations because it's not too formal and not too casual. It shows that you're listening and you think the other person has a good point. It's also really useful when you want to end a discussion politely. Here's a real situation where I used it recently. My friend invited me to a party, but I told her I couldn't go because I had to work early the next morning. She said, fair enough, maybe next time. See how she used it to show she understood my reason? It kept the conversation friendly and positive. For example, if someone asks you why you don't want to go to a scary movie, and you say you don't like horror films, they might respond, fair enough. How about a comedy instead? You might hear something like this. Your roommate asks why you always close the windows at night, and you explain that you're sensitive to noise. They could say, "Fair enough. I didn't know that bothered you." Let's take this one. Imagine you're at a restaurant and your friend asks why you're ordering a salad instead of pizza. You say you're trying to eat healthier, and they respond, "Fair enough." Good for you. This expression is so versatile. You can use it in almost any situation where someone gives you a reason for something. Do you think you'll start using "fair enough" in your conversations? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Number 3, we just clicked. This expression is so sweet and natural. When people say "we just clicked," it means they connected with someone immediately and easily. It's like saying you had instant chemistry, or you got along perfectly from the very first moment. You can use this about friendships, romantic relationships, or even professional connections. The word "click" here comes from the idea of puzzle pieces fitting together perfectly, or like when you click two things together and they fit just right. When people click, their personalities, interests, or energy levels match up really well. I have a perfect story for this one. When I started my new job, I was nervous about meeting my coworkers. But there was this one person, Sarah, and from our very first conversation, we just clicked. We had the same sense of humor, we liked the same TV shows, and we both loved coffee. Now she's one of my best friends at work. For example, you might tell someone, "I wasn't sure about online dating, but then I met Jake and we just clicked immediately. We talked for hours on our first date." Here's another one. Imagine you're describing a new friendship to your family. You could say, "I met this person at the gym and we just clicked. Now we work out together every morning." People often say something like, "I was worried about getting a new roommate, but when I met Tom, we just clicked. He's so easy to live with." Have you ever met someone and felt that instant connection? That's exactly what "we just clicked" describes. It's such a wonderful feeling when it happens. Which person in your life did you click with right away? Share your story in the comments. Number 4, let's start simple. This phrase is super practical and encouraging. Let's start simple means let's begin with something easy or basic before moving to more complicated things. It's like saying, "Let's take it step by step," or "Let's not make this too hard right now." People use this when they want to make something less overwhelming. This expression is so common because it makes difficult tasks feel more manageable. When you start simple, you build confidence and understanding before tackling harder parts. It's a really positive way to approach learning or problem solving. I use this phrase all the time when I'm teaching people new things. Just last month, my little cousin wanted to learn how to bake cookies. She was excited and wanted to make some fancy recipe with lots of ingredients. I said, "Let's start simple with basic chocolate chip cookies first. Once you master those, we can try more complicated recipes." She loved the idea, and now she's a great cookie baker. For example, if your friend wants to learn guitar and is looking at really difficult songs, you might say, "Let's start simple. How about learning some basic chords first?" You might hear something like this. Your coworker is feeling overwhelmed with a big project, so you could suggest, "Let's start simple. Let's just focus on the first step today." Let's take this one. Imagine you're trying to learn a new language with a friend, and they want to start with advanced grammar. You could say, "Let's start simple with basic vocabulary and common phrases first." This expression is so encouraging because it removes pressure and makes goals feel achievable. Do you prefer to start simple when learning new things, or do you like to jump into the deep end? Let me know in the comments which approach works better for you. Number 5. This is all your fault. Now, this expression can sound a bit strong, but it's actually used in many different ways. This is all your fault means you're blaming someone for causing a problem or situation. However, native speakers don't always use it seriously. Sometimes it's said in a playful, teasing way between friends or family members. The meaning is pretty straightforward. You're saying that someone is responsible for what happened. But the tone makes all the difference. You can say it angrily when you're really upset, or you can say it jokingly when something funny or unexpected happens. Here's a funny story about this one. My friend convinced me to try a new restaurant that had really spicy food. I'm not good with spicy food at all, but she insisted it would be fine. Well, I spent the whole meal drinking water, and my mouth was on fire. Afterward, I laughed and said, "This is all your fault. You said it wouldn't be that spicy." We both started laughing because it was said in a playful way. For example, if your friend convinces you to watch a really sad movie and you end up crying, you might playfully say, "This is all your fault. You didn't tell me it was going to be this emotional." Here's another one. Imagine you're late for work because your roommate used up all the hot water in the shower. You might say, "This is all your fault. I couldn't shower because there was no hot water left." People often say this when something goes wrong, but remember, the tone is everything. You could say, "This is all your fault we're lost," if someone gave you wrong directions, but you could also say it jokingly if they led you to discover a really cool place by accident. Have you ever playfully blamed a friend for something that happened? The key is making sure the other person knows you're not really angry. What situation made you want to say, "This is all your fault"? Share your story in the comments. Number 6. Don't let me down. This expression is both hopeful and a little bit vulnerable. When someone says, "Don't let me down," they're asking you not to disappoint them or fail to do what you promised. It means they're counting on you and trusting you to follow through with something important. This phrase shows that someone has faith in you, but they're also a little worried that you might not come through. It's like saying, "Please don't disappoint me," or "I'm trusting you with this." People use it when something really matters to them. I remember when my mom said this to me before my high school graduation speech. I was chosen to speak at the ceremony, and I was so nervous. She looked at me and said, "I know you'll do great. Don't let me down." She wasn't being mean. She was showing that she believed in me and that this moment was important to our family. For example, if you're asking your best friend to help you move apartments, you might say, "I really need your help tomorrow. Don't let me down." You might hear something like this. Your boss gives you an important project and says, "This client is really important to our company. Don't let me down." Let's take this one. Imagine your little brother asks you to come to his soccer game and you promise you'll be there. He might say, "You better be there. Don't let me down." This expression shows trust and expectation at the same time. It's usually said by someone who really cares about the outcome. Have you ever felt the pressure when someone said this to you? Or have you ever said it to someone else? Let me know in the comments about a time when you really didn't want to let someone down. Number 7. What are your intentions? This expression is quite direct and serious. "What are your intentions?" means, "What do you plan to do?" Or "What are your goals?" People usually ask this when they want to know someone's real purpose or when they're being protective about something important. This phrase often comes up in more serious conversations, especially when parents want to know about their child's boyfriend or girlfriend, or when someone is being protective of a friend or family member. It's a way of asking someone to be honest about their plans. Here's a story that might sound familiar. When I was in college, I started dating someone new. When I brought him home to meet my family, my dad sat him down and asked, "What are your intentions with my daughter?" It sounds old-fashioned, but my dad just wanted to make sure this person was serious about our relationship and would treat me well. For example, if your friend is thinking about quitting their job to start a business, you might ask, "What are your intentions? Do you have a solid plan?" Here's another one. Imagine someone keeps asking you personal questions about your family. You might say, "What are your intentions? Why do you need to know all this information?" People often say this in professional settings too. Like if someone wants to buy your car, you might ask, "What are your intentions? Are you planning to use it for daily driving or just for weekends?" This expression demands honesty and clarity. It's not a casual question. It's asking for real, honest answers. Have you ever had to explain your intentions to someone? Or have you ever asked someone else about theirs? Tell me in the comments about a time when intentions really mattered. Number 8. You want a piece of me? Now this expression sounds aggressive, and it can be. "You want a piece of me" is basically saying, "Do you want to fight me?" Or "Are you looking for trouble?" It's a challenging phrase that people use when they feel threatened or when someone is bothering them. However, just like many English expressions, this one can also be used playfully between friends. The tone makes all the difference. It can be said seriously in a real confrontation, or it can be said jokingly when friends are teasing each other. Here's a light-hearted example of how I've heard this used. My brother and I were playing video games, and I kept beating him. He was getting frustrated, but in a funny way. Finally, he stood up and said, "You want a piece of me. Let's settle this with one final game." We both started laughing because he was being so dramatic about a video game. For example, if someone keeps making jokes about your favorite sports team, you might playfully say, "Hey, you want a piece of me? My team is amazing." You might hear something like this. Imagine two friends are arm wrestling and one of them is losing. They might jokingly say, "You want a piece of me. Let's try the other arm." Let's take this one. If someone is teasing you about your cooking skills, you could playfully respond, "You want a piece of me? I'll cook you dinner and prove how good I am." Remember, this expression can be aggressive in serious situations, so be very careful about when and how you use it. In most cases, it's better to use it only with close friends who understand you're joking. Have you ever heard this expression before? What do you think about expressions that can be both serious and playful? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 9, I demand to know. This expression is very strong and forceful. I demand to know means I insist that you tell me, or you must tell me right now. It's much stronger than just asking a question. When someone says this, they're not just curious. They feel they have the right to know something important. People use this phrase when they're frustrated, angry, or when they feel like someone is hiding something from them. It's not a polite request. It's a firm demand. You might hear it in movies, TV shows, or in real life when someone is really upset about being left out of important information. I saw this happen at my workplace recently. One of my coworkers found out that there were going to be some changes in our department, but nobody had told her about it. She was really upset because these changes would affect her job. She went to our manager and said, "I demand to know what's happening with these changes. This affects my future here." She felt she had the right to know because it would impact her work. For example, if your roommate has been acting strange and you suspect they're planning to move out without telling you, you might say, "I demand to know what's going on. Are you planning to leave?" Here's another one. Imagine your family is planning a surprise party for you, but you figured it out. You might say to your sister, "I demand to know what you're all planning. I know something is going on." People often say this in dramatic situations. Like if someone borrowed your car and brought it back damaged, you might say, "I demand to know what happened to my car." This expression shows that you're not just asking, you're insisting on getting an answer. It's quite dramatic and strong, so use it carefully. Have you ever felt so frustrated that you wanted to demand answers from someone? What situations make you feel like you have the right to know something? Let me know in the comments. Number 10, I don't belong here. This expression is quite emotional and can mean different things depending on the situation. I don't belong here means this isn't the right place for me, or I don't fit in with these people or this environment. It's about feeling out of place or like you don't match the situation you're in. People say this when they feel uncomfortable, different, or like they don't have the right skills, background, or personality for where they are. It can be said sadly when someone feels excluded, or it can be said as a realization that they need to find a better fit for themselves. I remember feeling this way when I first started taking advanced math classes in college. Everyone else seemed so smart and confident, and I felt like I was struggling to keep up. I called my mom and said, "I don't belong here. Everyone else is so much better at this than I am." But she encouraged me to keep trying, and eventually, I found my confidence and realized I did belong there after all. For example, if you go to a fancy restaurant where everyone is dressed up and you're wearing casual clothes, you might feel like, "I don't belong here. Everyone looks so elegant, and I'm just in jeans." You might hear something like this. Imagine someone gets invited to join a group of professional musicians, but they're just a beginner. They might say, "I don't belong here. These people are so talented and I'm still learning." Let's take this one. If you're at a party where everyone is talking about topics you know nothing about, you might think, "I don't belong here. I can't contribute to any of these conversations." This expression can be about feeling insecure, but it can also be about recognizing that you need to find a better situation for yourself. Sometimes it's okay to realize you don't belong somewhere, and it can help you find where you do belong. Have you ever felt like you didn't belong somewhere? How did you handle that feeling? Share your experience in the comments. Let's recap what we learned today. We covered 10 really useful expressions that native English speakers use all the time. We learned, "I stand corrected" for admitting mistakes politely, "fair enough" for agreeing with someone's reasoning, and "we just clicked" for describing instant connections with people. We also covered, "let's start simple" for making things easier. "This is all your fault" for blaming someone playfully or seriously, and "don't let me down" for asking someone not to disappoint you. Then we learned, "what are your intentions?" for asking about someone's plans, "you want a piece of me" for challenging someone, "I demand to know" for insisting on information, and "I don't belong here" for feeling out of place. Each of these expressions has its own tone and situation where it works best. Remember, the key to using these expressions naturally is understanding not just what they mean, but when and how to use them. Practice them in your head, try them out with friends, and pay attention to how native speakers use them in movies, TV shows, and real conversations. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more English lessons. Tomorrow I'll be back with 10 more common idioms, phrases, and sentences that will help you sound more natural when speaking English. Which of these 10 expressions was your favorite today? Which one do you think you'll use first? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you, and seeing how you're using these expressions in your daily life. Take care and keep practicing your English. Remember, every expression you learn makes you sound more like a native speaker. See you tomorrow.